The next slide, please. Hi, I'm Rhonda Taylor. I'm the Director of Partnerships and Program Engagement at AmeriCorps. I welcome you all today to our 9/11 Day of Service webinar to talk about project ideas. We look forward to your participation. As Jeff said, we will take Q&A in the Q&A feature. We also hope to have some time at the end to take some live questions or answer some of the Q&A questions live. We appreciate you joining us, and I will go over the agenda. First, we'll hear from Leah at Blue Star Families. Then we'll hear from Beth at One Warm Coat. Michael will talk to us about Generations Over Dinner. Max will talk to us about a program that supports welcoming refugees, Little AMAL. Josiah will talk about work that they're doing in Ohio, and Liz will talk about a hunger challenge, and then I'll go over some other ideas that are listed on our online and how to find those resources. Next slide, please. I wanted to show you, if you haven't seen it, our new logo. This year, we are happy to officially join forces with 911day.org, My Good Deed, and co-brand together, since they were really the founders of this day of service, and we are the federal partner in this day of service. Our theme this year is Unite in Service and Never Forget. Next slide, please. It's now my great pleasure to turn it over to Leah Love from Blue Star Families.
Thank you so much, Rhonda. Thanks so much for having me on today to share ideas for the 9/11 Day of Service. My name is Leah Love, and I'm the Associate Director of Community Impact with Blue Star Families. Next slide, please. Next slide. So Blue Star Families was founded in 2009. We're the nation's largest grassroots military family support organization, and our mission is to create supportive networks for our military families, no matter where the mission takes them. We serve over 1.5 million military family members each year, and we have more than 250,000 members in our network. As an organization, our theory of change revolves around listening, sharing, partnering, and acting. We are data-driven and committed to working with partners and driving change for our military families. Next slide. What I'd like to focus on today, though, is one of our main initiatives called Blue Star Welcome Week. In 2020, we started this initiative, and Welcome Week focuses on celebrating and supporting the 600,000 military families who move every single year. Moving to a new community is hard, but with the right support, we know that we can help these families get connected and on their way to finding a real sense of belonging to the communities in which they transition to. Next slide. So this year, Welcome Week runs from September 23rd to October 1st. Again, it focuses really on raising that awareness and support for our military families who recently relocated. Through Blue Star Welcome Week, we have localized events, we have proclamations from government officials, we have schools who post welcoming messages for military kids. We're really looking to inspire a nation to act in support of our military families. Next slide. Just a few highlights from our Welcome Week of last year. We had 187 in-person and virtual events across 139 different communities. We had some national media coverage and even 43 different proclamations that were issued by local and state government officials as well. Next slide. So now to the meat of why I'm here, and I'm sorry this slide is not rendering, but a few ideas of ways that you can then get involved and really spend your 9/11 Day of Service in support of our military families, and as really a lead-in and preparation for that Blue Star Welcome Week. So one, we have a network of 13 chapters across the country. If you happen to be close to one of our 13 chapters, we would love to have you reach out to our local chapter directors and find out how you can get involved. You can also spend the day reaching out to local school systems. This is a really important place for our military families to get connected. And we have a toolkit available directly online through our Welcome Week website, which is bluestarwelcomeweek.org. And really the idea is to ask them to post a welcoming message during Welcome Week for military kids. But that's something that you can do as part of your 9/11 day of service to do that outreach to schools as well. If you happen to work with an organization who may already have something scheduled for that time period, or who might like to plan something, you can spend the day either through our partner event registration or really planning how to make something special for our military families. Be creative. You can reach out to local installations. Think about if there's any military families that you may know, even in your neighborhood, and what you could do to support them as well. So Blue Star Welcome Week is really about helping our military families feel connected, feel supported, and allowing them to thrive. And we would really love for you to consider spending even a portion of your day of service in honor of these families of those who serve. Next slide. Thanks again so much for having me on today. My contact information is listed there directly. Please reach out if you have any questions about how to get involved or would like more resources. We would really love to have you join us. Next slide. All right, next up is Beth Amadio, the president and CEO of One Warm Coat. Beth?
Thank you so much, Leah. And I think your program is so important. I grew up with a dad in the Air Force, so I can testify that moving a lot is challenging. So what a wonderful program to learn about today. Next slide, please. One Warm Coat was founded 31 years ago by one woman with one coat that she wanted to donate, and she wanted to find a way to make sure that that coat would get into the hands of someone who needed it. And then she started thinking, well, wouldn't it be great if everyone could help? And from that first coat drive, our program has grown to where every year we host between 5,000 and 6,000 coat drives across all 50 states. Our mission is to provide free coats to children and adults in need and promote volunteerism and environmental sustainability. Next slide, please. So you can see the impact we've had over the last 31 years has grown. And this past year, we provided more than 550,000 free coats, and we have 1,500 plus, we actually have around 1,700 right now, nonprofit organizations, other 501c3s across the country that are the ones that actually distribute the coats to the people in need. And those nonprofits are really a huge variety of missions, everything from serving people experiencing homelessness, to serving senior citizens, to serving veterans, to low-income preschools, as long as they sign a commitment that they will give the coats away for free and that they will give them away without discrimination. If they are a 501c3 in good standing, we welcome them into our network to receive the coats and then distribute those. And we also helped to recycle more than 1.3 million pounds of clothing last year. Next slide, please. It's really easy to hold a coat drive, and it's a great activity that can take place over a longer period of time as well, but it's also a really easy one and done in a day activity, which makes it a good fit for the day of service. Last year here in my local area, we had a group who held a coat drive. They held it, they asked a church to borrow their parking lot, and they advertised it around town, and they had a drive-through coat drive. People drove through, handed out coats out the windows, they cheered for them and thanked them, and they collected almost 400 coats that day. So really you just need a location, and we do have a map that posts all of the coat drives that are happening at any given point across the country. It's the most visited page on our website. So if you register to hold a coat drive for 9/11 Day of Service, you can ask that it be on the map. And if anyone is hoping to donate a coat that day, they will be directed to our map. It's searchable by zip code, and they can find your coat drive. It is free to register. As soon as you register, you receive an email with links to lots of different resources, everything from posters that you can print out to information about the best and easiest way to get a collection bin, to even yard signs that you can order. And then the best part is we already have a great network of nonprofit organizations who are excited and willing to accept those coats from you and distribute them to the clients that they serve. And 9/11 is actually a really great time of year for that, because it is back to school time period. It's about to get cold in a lot of parts of the country, so it's great to get people coats in September. I have 2 kids. It seems like they outgrow their coats every single year, so they are now fully on board. As soon as they try on their coat from last year, and if the sleeves are too short or it's a little too tight, they say, well, it's time to donate this to someone else who can use it. So that's really good timing for holding a coat drive. And there's a lot of information on our website, which I put here, but there's also this email address, drives@onewarmcoat.org. Feel free to email that if you have any questions, or email me directly. My email address is beth@onewarmcoat.org. So really excited to be part of this project again. So grateful to AmeriCorps for organizing this, and to Rhonda for always being so good at just rallying all of us together. Next slide, please. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Michael Hebb, who's going to talk to you about Generations Over Dinner.
Hello, everyone. Let's see. So I think I'm supposed to spotlight myself, but I don't know exactly where that is. But that's okay. Can you see me? Not sure. All right. So next slide. All right. So I'm Michael Hebb. I'm the founder of Generations Over Dinner, which is part of a larger organization called Life Over Dinner. And we're thrilled to be part of One More Day, National Day of Service. I'm going to give you a little background on this project. Generations Over Dinner is inspired by an initiative that started 10 years ago called Death Over Dinner, which is a little bit of a scary name, but was actually an initiative and continues to be an initiative to get people to talk about end of life. And since we launched, there have been well over 1 million people who have gathered together at dinner tables around the world and talked about end-of-life plans, life-limiting diagnosis, grief, and a lot of the conversations that we just don't have, but really need to. And we were inspired by the work at Modern Elder Academy and Stanford Center for Longevity and CoGenerate to create a new initiative that's a little bit brighter, a little bit less difficult of a topic, and that is Generations Over Dinner. And we actually launched this project on MLK Day, National Day of Service with AmeriCorps. And Generations Over Dinner is really focused on the fact that we are suffering from a loneliness epidemic, and especially when it comes to people that are older and when it comes to people that are younger. And if those of us in the middle are also, wanting to connect deeply with each other and not having many opportunities. And so Generations Over Dinner is an invitation to gather as many generations as possible at a dinner table or a lunch table or a picnic, or it could be over coffee, and to have meaningful conversations. And so there are different topics and different scripts that we create for those conversations. There is a specific script for 9/11 and also a very specific focus. So Generations Over Dinner exists in a lot of different ways out in the world. It's working in the enterprise sector, where we're working with LinkedIn and Chevron and Uber to bring together employees, and people are hosting dinners around the world. But specifically for the 9/11 Day, for the National Day of Service, we're continuing our work in the senior living sector, assisted living independent senior living, and really the whole spectrum of senior living. And the idea is to bring young activists and mid-career activists and volunteers from different ages together into senior living locations around the country to talk about the importance of service and to talk about the importance of 9/11 and the impact it's had on us. So next slide. For our pilot last January, we decided we were just brand new as an organization, but we decided to go big and try to see how many events we could host on MLK Day. And there were over 100 locations in, I believe, 10 states with well over 1,000 participants that gathered in senior living locations around the country and had an incredible conversation based upon scripts that we created with the AmeriCorps team, and also really focused on inspiring further service after the conversation. So deep connection and then inspiring people to get more involved. And so this year, well, let me just mention one other thing. Another that came out of that incredible pilot is Sunrise Senior Living, one of the largest senior living providers in the United States with 272 locations, decided to partner with us and host Generations Over Lunch and Generations Over Dinner every month in every location. So now there are tens of thousands of people gathering regularly to have these conversations. So 9/11, what we're looking for is folks that are involved in senior living. Either you have a parent or a loved one, or you yourself are in senior living, or you work in senior living, and you think that this would be a great event to host on 9/11 or the week around 9/11. And it could be that, you know, it moves you on some, you know, in some deep way and say, this is an easy enough thing to do. And the great thing about most senior living locations and senior centers is they already provide meals, and they're very game generally to have a couple tables on this day dedicated to the event. You might also be a young activist, or you might be part of an organization that is youth focused. We are looking for those partners as well, so we can match make in the senior living locations that will probably be in about 40 states this year. So there's a lot of matchmaking, and very simple to get involved. Just go to generationsoverdinner.com, and there is a little survey right on our homepage. Just scroll down a little bit, and it talks about, you'll see the 9/11 logo, and it says click get involved. You take a quick survey so that we can determine what part of this would be best served by your involvement. And it'll take you just a minute, and then we'll be in touch. Next slide, please. All right, well, I'm thrilled to introduce Max Skolnick, who's the founding partner of Little AMAL.
Thank you, Michael. And founding partner is a much bigger, more reputable title than I have. I'm assisting with the partnerships, but thank you all so much for having me, and thank you to Rhonda and to all the AmeriCorps folks. I'm a huge fan of everything you do, and I'm here to talk about the Walk with AMAL. I am the regional partnership lead, as well as the educational lead for this very large campaign that's happening in the fall. You can go to the next slide. So who is Little AMAL? Some of you may know, but she's a global phenomenon. She began a few years ago in Europe as a 12-foot puppet. She represents a 10-year-old Syrian refugee child named Amal. It comes from a play called The Jungle, which is a pretty extraordinary theatrical production. And she was there to raise the plight, the story of refugees across Europe. She walked from the Syrian-Turkish border all the way to the UK, and had a series of really wonderful experiences with children, with groups, with faith groups, with the Pope. She met with prime ministers. She did all kinds of great things, putting a spotlight on the challenges that refugees face. The group decided that they wanted to take this globally. So this is all these art folks and puppeteers and activists and advocates. And we're beginning a US tour of Little AMAL starting on September 7th in Boston during Welcome Week, which also then crosses into 9/11 Day of Service. And she's traveling through 35 plus cities across the United States, ending in San Diego on November 5th, and just having really extraordinary adventures along the way, with many organizations and partners. We're looking to partner with about 750 organizations and local governments and tribal nations as she raises awareness about not just Syrian refugees, but all refugees, all children who walk alone, migrants, immigrants, newcomers, whatever term you're most comfortable with. But yeah, we can go to the next slide. This is a map of the places that we're going. We're making a pretty significant swing down the eastern coast to DC, out to the Midwest, and then down to the Southeast to Atlanta, and then all the way across the border, or most of the border, and as I mentioned, sort of ending in San Diego. In most of these places, in all of these places, AMAL is doing two things. She's doing a stagecraft, sort of a play, a production, so to speak, with the arts team, where she's performing sort of as herself as a child. And it's really remarkable. If you haven't seen videos, if you get a chance to see video of little Amal, how human she is, how anthropomorphized she is as a puppet. But she acts like a child. She searches for food. She wants to take a nap. She wants to play. She's scared. She's concerned. You know, the story is that she's looking for her mother. And so we're trying to create a culture of welcome throughout the country for little Amal. Sorry, my daughter is interrupting. Not you, Bubba, you're good. My 7-year-old is home from camp, so of course we're all sort of dealing with multiple boundary crossings here. And so that's one side of the art sort of piece, and then the other side, you can go to the next slide, which is what my team is focused on. You can go to the next slide. I'm sorry. Yeah, is the community impact partners. So we're looking for folks across the country to help support these appearances. And we have 6 categories. I won't read through these, but the idea first is, how do we celebrate and spark joy around these stories of travel, of migration, of dislocation? And here's some examples of things that some of our partners are working on: events, activations, working with storytellers, creating event spaces and things like that. We're looking to boost the stories of young people and refugees. Specifically through things like different channels and social media, traditional media. There's a film that we have partnered with called Simple as Water. It's an HBO documentary that's coming out. They're offering free screenings, so we can help facilitate that as well. There's a big part of educating and shifting narratives around the stories. We have a very wonderful educational toolkit that we've put together that we are sharing with schools, with nonprofits, with Boys and Girls Clubs, with all kinds of organizations to help distribute different lessons, and they can be broken up into chunks, and it's all ages and different time lengths and things like that. You can go to the next slide. We're looking to build community, so we're looking for folks to hold events within their communities, both sort of geographic, but also faith communities, veterans groups, service associations, things like that. As an example, we're working with Georgetown University as one of our partners, and they're doing a full day of workshops around sort of policies for children who walk alone, for migrants, and so on. We're also looking, I think this is very obviously appropriate for the service community, mobilizing action. We're looking to support a series of calls to action throughout the country, whether it's around giving time in volunteering, or signing up as a sponsor family for newcomers, which will be a big part of this campaign, and just really thinking about ways that we can offer resources to all the different organizations, the refugee serving organizations across the country. And then lastly, sort of how do we catalyze impact? So we're looking to support partners that are sort of into the structural space around refugees and things like sort of ongoing coalitions and tech platforms and things like that. All of these things are ideas. We're very open to any number of sort of innovative approaches to this work. We're sort of taking all types of partners. There's no requirements or buy-in. If you sort of raise your hand and say you want to be a little AMAL partner, you're in. We're here to support that work across sort of multiple communities, as you can imagine, as well as some national coalitional partners as well. You can go to the next slide. this is just sort of next steps. There's an onboarding survey you can take a look at. That's the little URL, but we can also share that as well. Any partner who's interested, it's a very simple form just so you can gather some information. If you're interested, we schedule meetings all the time. We have a national town hall meeting coming up in a week or so, but we can certainly do one-on-ones, and then you can join us. And that email down below, that goes directly to me and some other partners. So you can do partners@littleamal.org. That immediately goes to my inbox, and I can respond. You can also check out our website, walkwithamal.org. There's a partner-specific page where you can see more about the cities and different strategies and so on. But we're looking forward to a really large-scale campaign around these issues in the fall, and would love to have as many of you all helping us as possible, supporting us, spreading the word, getting the energy out for sure. So just super appreciative. I think that's the last of my slides. Yes. So I'm going to pass it off to Josiah Hostetler from the Center for Interfaith Cooperation. Josiah?
Yeah, thank you, Max. And what an important story to highlight and lift up. That's certainly true in our faith communities here in Indianapolis. I am Josiah Hostetler. I'm the program director here at Center for Interfaith Cooperation. And I'll be talking a little bit about our Interfaith Enrichment Corps and our 9/11 National Day of Service opportunity, which is the Festival of Faith. Next slide, please. First, I'll tell you a little bit about the Center for Interfaith Cooperation. The Center for Interfaith Cooperation provides safe environment, resources, and opportunities for service to increase religious literacy, build empathy between faiths, and facilitate interfaith encounters. So what does that mean? It's knowing who our neighbors are and being able to welcome them in a diverse community. Our programs include the Interfaith Enrichment Corps, AmeriCorps programs, our Emerging Interfaith Leaders, which are youth and young adults, our New View film series, religious diversity workshops, and of course, our Festival of Faith. Next slide, please. The Interfaith Enrichment Corps incorporates the services of faith communities into interfaith interactions and learning. And so the AmeriCorps members serve in both nonprofit organizations involved in interfaith outreach, as well as faith-based communities, bringing in social services to the communities through capacity building. Our state commission, Serve Indiana, has been a strong supporter in this process. Our Interfaith Enrichment Corps grew with our organization. This year, CIC will sponsor the 2023 Festival of Faith, Nourishing Our Spirits as a 9/11 Day of Service and Remembrance. This year, we will have close to 70 vendors and exhibitors, as well as thousands of participants. It's one of the largest interfaith services in the country, and we have lots of people that come through. Really, it's a way to celebrate our diverse faith experiences, but then for our AmeriCorps members to have experience knowing who their neighbors are, and really getting to serve different community organizations. And we are just one of many interfaith groups throughout the country. And so I am aware of many different festivals of faith throughout the country. I know Louisville and Cincinnati and Chicago are all very close to this time period as well. So if you are an AmeriCorps program director thinking about sponsoring a day of service and remembrance for 9/11, I would encourage you to reach out to those interfaith organizations. They have really expansive connections into the community and really are a great place to start for planning these events. I wanted to highlight one of our partnerships is with IU Health to expand our Interfaith Enrichment Corps program in the Congregational Care Network. And so one part of the Festival of Faith will be reaching out to the different congregations, temples, mosques, and synagogues to ensure that they can participate in this program. And what that entails is reaching out to patients as they are released from the hospital and trying to catch any issues of social isolation and work with those. And so our AmeriCorps members have been key to this. But so any kind of nonprofit that is available to work through these kinds of one-day festivals, I would really encourage participation. If you're interested in learning more about Center for Interfaith Cooperation's 2023 Festival of Faith, I would encourage you to go to INDYCIC, that's INDYCIC.org. Thanks so much, and I'll turn it over to the next slide. I'd like to introduce Lisa Pierce, who's the specialist for partnerships and outreach for the Congressional Hunger Center, Zero Hunger Academy.
Rookie mistake, not a rookie though. Hi, everybody. My name is Liz. It's so good to be with you all today, and I'm delighted to share a little bit about the Congressional Hunger Center and about Zero Hunger Academy. So next slide, please. So Zero Hunger Academy is a part of the Congressional Hunger Center. Some of you may be familiar with us, but if you're not, we are not a part of Congress. However, we were started by two members of Congress in 1993. We're celebrating our 30th anniversary, and it's been a big year for us. So we're very excited to share all of our programs with you. What I want to talk to you right now, though, is about Zero Hunger Academy. So Zero Hunger Academy, as I mentioned, is a part of the Hunger Center, and our mission is to train leaders to advocate to fight food insecurity. Those two members of Congress that started the program in 1993 realized that funding comes and goes, and one way to secure long-term advocates was to train them ourselves. So that's what we do. We have paid fellowships and paid internships for college students, college graduates, postgrads, and that's a big part of our program. About 6 years ago, we started Zero Hunger Academy, which is our free online resource that tries to give you a flavor of everything that's in our fellowships and internships. Next slide, please. Zero Hunger Academy is comprised of 4 parts. We have a video library, which has there are actually 4 parts of a video series all about food insecurity, how to end hunger, what the root causes of hunger are, and practical solutions. That's part of our video library. It has a discussion guide. It's all free. It's very comprehensive and a great way to talk with your team about that. We also have our End Hunger Challenge, which I'm going to talk a little bit more about in a minute. That is an online course. You can log in any time of day, any day of the week. It is all free, as I mentioned, and it will prepare you to learn more about hunger, learn more about those root causes, and then also know what to do about it, how to advocate in your own hometown, or if you feel so called, how to advocate with members in Congress, things you can do in your home, online, or out in the community. Our Zero Hunger Summer Seminars are happening right now. That is a series of either 6 or 7 different seminars over the summer that are also free and online. Anybody is welcome to join those. We have different speakers that come on from all across the United States and talk again about all those things that I've mentioned already: root causes, what are solutions, empowering people with lived experience, and so forth. And then our last offering is the self-paced courses, which are also online and a little bit longer and more in-depth dive into the root causes and what to do and how to advocate to end food insecurity. Next slide, please. So just a quick little background, we are mostly teachers and learners, and so we have learned. And I bring this up because the AmeriCorps presentation I did last year in honor of MLK Day really led us to some new offerings. We started with something called the U.S. Hunger and Poverty course, which was primarily for people in college or in academic institutions, very research heavy, lots of reading. Then we moved into our End Hunger in 30 Challenge, which was online, became a little more accessible and available to everybody. Again, the next thing was the self-paced End Hunger Challenge, and we've refined it and refined it to what we think is a nice package of materials for everybody, whether you're a visual learner or you like to listen to podcasts or you want to watch videos, you want to read research. We've got it all packaged in our online resources. Next slide, please. So the end hunger challenges that I've mentioned can be focused and customized to meet the different needs of different groups. So we've customized several of them. We did one for example, the Virginia Department of Social Services for their social work crews, and we've done one for a private school in New York. We've done one for a nonprofit in Florida. But it's very easy to package all of our materials for you and for your team or for an individual. The End Hunger Challenge, as I mentioned, is all online, it's all free. And in collaboration with AmeriCorps, we want to focus on those things that I mentioned, the root causes of hunger, what would it take to end hunger, and how we can center the voices of those with lived experience in advocacy as well. I want to call out too, September is also Hunger Action Month. So we're going to be doing two things in collaboration with each other, the 9/11 Day of Remembrance, of course, and then Hunger Action Month. But all people are asked to do is register online, commit to spending 15 to 30 minutes a day. And the reason that's flexible is because of what you choose to do. Like I mentioned, you can watch videos or you can listen to podcasts. So it depends on what amount of time you have. Reviewing the infographics, watching the videos, like I said, and then we ask people to complete at least one action of the day. And we've tried to make those as accessible as possible. So we give options. Next slide, please. This is an example of one of the days of ACT Day, suggested actions of the day for Volunteer Week. So you can see we gave several different options to do. Plan on spending $6 a day as if you had SNAP benefits, or perhaps some people that are taking the challenge as well do that and can share. There's an online game that you can take that will give you different scenarios to figure out how you would manage if you were on a very, very limited income and budget for your food. There's a quiz on learning about food waste. Some of the other days we had things like, of course, some of the obvious ones, which are collect cans for a food pantry or volunteer at a food pantry. But we also had things like determine how long it would take you to grocery shop if you didn't have a car, if you had to rely on public transportation. Always trying to give people an insight into the world of food insecurity and how we can all advocate for it. We try to bust as many myths as we can and give actual facts and data, but we also know that just presenting people with facts sometimes can be a little dry. So we try to mix it up, like I said, with the videos and podcasts and so forth. Next slide, please. So this is an example of one of the screenshots that you might see if you were taking the challenge. And I brought it for a couple of reasons. One is to show that, we want to bust myths about what is food insecurity and where is it. So we have a lot of interactive websites that we use. This one is a slide, of course, of the food security status in 2021. But on the right-hand side, one of the things we really love about our platform, our learning platform, is the commentary on the side. You remember just a minute ago, I talked about the nonprofit in Florida that we used this program with in a private challenge. So it was just for them and just for their employees and volunteers. And what happened was really cool. Rick over here on the right is the CEO of the organization. And the person down here, Becky, is somebody, this is a huge organization. There's many, many people, and Becky had never really met the CEO, but they started interacting through this platform and talking about different ways to tackle some problems within their organization or solutions that they could have to overcome challenges. It also is a nice way to see when you're taking this challenge with people all over the United States to get ideas. Well, how are they doing it in Kansas? Well, what's going on in DC or Vermont, anywhere? So it's really kind of a cool way to share ideas and also get to know some people in the industry and then in the nonprofits that are fighting food insecurity. Next slide, please. These are just some feedback and testimonials. I think, with the Health Management Academy is a group that trains doctors and does CEUs and training for nurses and doctors and everybody in the medical field. And Lindsay Regalis, who I think is very knowledgeable about a lot of different things, I asked her if I could use this testimonial because she didn't realize some of the facts that we were presenting in this. Mary Jenkins, of course, is from the Virginia Department of Social Services, like I mentioned before. And then we had a set of librarians that took this because they see food insecurity and they see different aspects and outcomes and consequences of food insecurity every day at work. Next slide, please. So that's pretty much it. As I mentioned, it's super easy to sign up. You can go to zerohungeracademy.org or our website, hungercenter.org. You'll find all the resources there, how to sign up for the challenge. And anything you need, you want to ask me a question, send me an email, reach out to me, and I would be happy to share more. Thank you for having us. I'm so excited to be participating in this again. Next slide, please. And I will turn it back over to Rhonda with AmeriCorps.
Hi. Hey again. Thank you, Liz. And to all of our presenters and all of you on the webinar. I hope that you saw some nuggets today that you will spur you to action and help you put together a project in honor of 9/11 Day. Earlier this month, we've had several webinars on supporting veterans and engaging in bridging work and climate in your 9/11 Day of Service. Some of these ideas today reinforce those issue areas. We talked about how you might use your 9/11 Day of Service to plan for supporting Welcome Week, using interfaith gatherings and to provide services in your community and to get to know each other across faiths and work together, understanding the plight of refugees and how you might support them, crossing generations to bridge those divides, understanding hunger. I hope I haven't missed anyone. Beth, coats, clothing drives, and helping people stay warm or address whatever kind of weather they live in. I hope you weave those together in interesting ways and use the 9/11 Day of Service to show the unity in your community and that service really does matter, especially when we're honoring those who lost their lives and rose in service, and honestly to combat some of the unfortunate things that happened in our communities as a result of some of the hate that was born of 9/11 too. While we had, lots of people rising to support others, there were pockets where that was not the case. And it's important that we show how we can unify around these days of service in our communities and across our country. So I have a few things I want to share with you from our resources. So next slide, please. If you haven't already, I hope you'll become a champion of 9/11. You can sign up on our website, which is AmeriCorps.gov/serve/volunteer/911-day. All of our resources can be found there. We hope you will register your day of service project so that we know about it and that others across the country and in your communities know about it. Either come and serve and volunteer with you or be inspired by your service to do something on their own. There are several organizations you can use to register your projects, and they will show up on our website. Idealist, Just Serve, Catholic Volunteer Network, volunteer.gov if you're a public land organization, California Volunteers if you're in California, and Volunteer Match. You can access all of our resources. We have a webinar about that in a couple of weeks, our social press kit and other ideas, and our previous webinars that I already mentioned. If you're still looking for project ideas, think about job readiness. Can you host a day of workshops on how to prepare for looking for a job or help people just look for jobs? Food insecurity. Liz talked a lot about learning about it. You can also plan to help address it. Healthy futures. Many communities are plagued with drug issues. You could have a drug take back day in collaboration with your police department or a local pharmacy. Disaster and emergency preparedness. Ready.gov. We're right at the edge of Preparedness Month. Many communities need support in preparing for and being ready to address disasters when they strike. We have links for learning about weatherization and connecting with other community organizations. So thank you again. And I'm going to just open up for a few minutes for questions. I'm going to look at the Q&A first and see if there are questions that haven't been answered. Beth, do you want to answer about one warm coat, why Louisiana appears mostly blank? Would you
Yes, I just wanted to say that we've had successful coat drives in every state, even warm weather environments like Louisiana, and we would welcome more coat drives there because the coats that are collected are then distributed in the local communities where they are collected. What tends to happen is that whatever people donate are primarily what are needed. So if we have a coat drive in Michigan, it tends to be, really thick, down, warm coats. If we have a coat drive in Louisiana, we tend to get a lot of raincoats, hoodies, sweat jackets, and those are what are needed in those areas. So definitely encourage you not to be discouraged if you are in an environment that's typically a warmer climate.
And let's see. I think Sharonda got her question answered. And yes, we will get a list of the organizations highlighted in the webinar. We'll post the webinar online. It usually takes us about a week, but we will do that. It will have a recording and the webinar. We do post a transcript as well. The Interfaith Cooperate, I posted Josiah's email in the chat. If you, let's see, missed that, it is Josiah, JOSIH at indycic.org. For people with disabilities, does anyone want to address that? We do have a grantee a dev service grantee, ARC, that designs projects for people with disabilities to serve in. If you would like me to connect to you, please email me, Chris Rude. I'm engagement@cns.gov. Charlie Nancy Sam, engagement@cns.gov. Okay, any other questions that I may have missed that you want to ask or put in the chat? You want to, if you raise your hand to ask a question, they'll unmute you and you can ask. Okay, next slide, please. So I hope you'll stay in touch with us. No question too small, and share your success stories and your photos. Again, if you still need ideas and resources, check us out at AmeriCorps.gov/serve/volunteer/911-day. Again, you can reach us at engagement@cns.gov. Deadline to sign up as a champion is August 1st, and register your projects. We look forward to seeing all the great service and the unity in your community that results from the 9/11 day. So unless there are more questions, thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.